I thought a daily sketchbook would be perfect to capture my life and creative growth. One drawing a day, every day for a year. But not every day is inspiring. Some are just routine with nothing specific to draw. Some felt forced, others I skipped, and eventually I stopped. This is what that failed habit taught me about creativity, routine, and what I really want from a sketchbook habit. If you're new here, I'm Monica, a full-time designer who loves sketchbooks, side projects, and making things by hand. On this channel, I share my sketchbook processes, my journey of creating a graphic novel, and creative experiments to inspire you to create more. So this is the sketchbook in question. I bought this a couple months before the start of the new year with the intention of using it every day. Each page has a number on it, and the idea is to create a sketch every single day. And I thought it would be a fun way to look back on my year and also a way to instill a daily drawing practice. You'll notice at the beginning of the year I have a few really nice drawings I did with pencil, and I also experimented a little bit with pen. I tried to make drawings that were somewhat of a reflection of that day. Maybe it was something that happened that day, something I learned, or something I just didn't want to forget. It could be a thumbnail sketch of something I was working on, a quote, anything. Really no specific rules on what to sketch. After a while, I stopped doing it every day and started to play catch up and do a few days drawings in a row. By February 3rd, I started to skip a couple of days. After February 16th, things got really sparse, and eventually my last entry was on February 26th, and then I stopped completely. I want to share 4 key lessons I learned from this experiment because I feel there's a lot of artists that try to do some form of a daily drawing art challenge, whether it's for something like Inktober, or maybe they try to do it every single day for a month or a year or indefinitely. If it's something you can pull off, that's great, but it doesn't always work for everyone. So the first thing to consider is to start with a purpose. Ask yourself, what do I really want out of this drawing habit? Is it more skill-based? Perhaps you want to get better at drawing something very specific, maybe animals or portraits or lettering? Or do you just want creativity to play a bigger part in your life, and you think daily drawing will accomplish that? For me, when I realized that I was starting to catch up or entirely skip certain days, I was starting to feel guilty, like I was letting myself down on this promise that I made to myself of sketching every day so that I could have this great sketchbook to flip back on my memories over the year. But I realized that wasn't a strong enough why for doing this daily drawing routine. Also, I ended up starting a lot of new projects, and I was more excited to work on those instead of doing daily random sketches. I am a big advocate for working on projects instead of endlessly studying or doing one-off things, unless again that's something that you're wanting to practice. If it is skill-based for you, you might want to consider, instead of just using a sketchbook for a daily drawing practice, maybe you dedicate that sketchbook to one subject matter. I've started doing this for lettering. The second lesson I learned was to be realistic about your routine. I work full-time as a designer and I lead a pretty busy life, so daily sketching, I realized, just isn't that practical. And it's honestly not that important to me based on other goals I have. So instead, I focused on a different schedule for creative projects. For me, that's to work on some light sketches during the week in the evenings after work, and then giving myself much more time on the weekends for hours on a dedicated project. And that could incorporate some sketching into my sketchbook or drawing in Procreate on my iPad, compiling mood boards, or writing outlines for a comic or graphic novel project that I'm working on. There's so many avenues to express my creativity that don't necessarily have to be a daily drawing. But I still would like to have a dedicated time with my sketchbook. So for me, I'm being a little bit more realistic and allocating maybe 1 or 2 sketchbook sessions per week on top of all the other creative projects I mentioned. This leads into the third lesson from this experiment, which is that I think in projects and not in pages. I'm more inspired by mid to larger scale projects. So instead, I use my sketchbook as a tool to enrich the creative process for those projects. Now I sketch with more intention, creating thumbnails and mood boards, notes, compiling all of my ideas that work their ways into those larger projects. The fourth lesson is to make it playful and fun again. Creating art should be fun and not forced, which is how I felt when I was forcing myself to draw daily in this sketchbook. I've started to let go of arbitrary rules and just let myself play and create. So what do I do now? How do I use a sketchbook now? And what can you take away from it? There's a few ways I use sketchbooks now. One is I use a tiny field notes sketchbook for quick notes and jotting down creative ideas. These are really small and it's very easy for me to mark these up and not be too precious with them versus how I would be with a larger, more beautiful sketchbook. These are meant to get ideas out fast. Another way I use sketchbooks is to adopt the concept of an ugly sketchbook that I use for warm-ups, swatches, and just general play. I've actually done a flip through of two of my ugly sketchbooks. One is a small notebook from Muji and the second is a Midori MD sketchbook. So if you want to see more about how I use an ugly sketchbook, check out those videos. I'll leave them linked below. Another thing I'm continuing on with is a focused sketchbook. For me, that's finishing up the one that I have on lettering. And then next, I'm planning to have a dedicated focused sketchbook just for creating mini comics. I think that would be really fun to flip back on and just a great place to capture those ideas. Something else new that I haven't started yet is to use a really large sketchbook for planning those long-term projects out. In this large format sketchbook, I really want to document the process of creating a graphic novel. In it, I will put loose thumbnail sketches, I'll cut things out and create tactile mood boards, add color swatches of color combinations I'm thinking about using, and cut out images that inspire me. Of course, I will also use it to create more finalized art, but it's more about the process versus the end result. And I think this would be really great to look back on and have something that documents the entire process from start to finish. I'm really excited to start that new sketchbook. I just have to find the perfect one. So if you have a recommendation for a great large sketchbook that you like to use, let me know in the comment below because I'm looking for one. What's your relationship like right now with sketchbooks? Are you working on cultivating a daily drawing practice? Do you use your sketchbook weekly, monthly, or for projects or focused, dedicated work, or just when inspiration strikes? Leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear more about what you're working on. And if you want to see a sketchbook tour of one of those ugly sketchbooks, check out this video next.